What's going on, everybody? Sean Pierce Johnson here with this week's edition of Stompbox Saturday, and on the Stompin' Block today, we have the Calhoun V2 from JHS Pedals and Mike Campbell of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. This is a very cool sort of vintage-tuned pedal that's two pedals in one. A very cool Overdrive based on the JHS Twin 12, and a Fuzz based around the circuitry of the Firefly Fuzz, which in my opinion are probably two of the coolest pedals in the JHS line. Both are highly tweakable and sound really cool, and the fact that you have both of them in one package and can either run drive into Fuzz or Fuzz into drive makes this a supremely flexible pedal. So let's go ahead and take a look at the controls, and then we'll dial in through the knobs and see how they affect the overall tone. Now on the Overdrive side, you have a knob for volume, drive, treble, and bass. And on the Fuzz side, you have a knob for volume, gain, bias, and EQ. The magic of the Fuzz is in these two knobs, the bias and the EQ. So we'll take a look at those in a little bit. So I think what we should do first is set all the knobs to around noon. And I'm going to go ahead and play around a little bit. We'll sweep the knobs so you can hear how they sound. And I'm going to be using my trusty Les Paul Studio into the Orange Rocker Verb 100. And this is the clean tone that we have starting out. Going for a clean tone that when I hit hard, it's on the border of breakup. So first, the Overdrive. When you turn the gain all the way down, you really get your signal lost. Now let's check out the Fuzz. Even when you turn the gain down all the way on this, it's still pretty darn fuzzy. Well, there you have how the knobs affect the overall tone. So now let's go ahead and dial in some tones that we'd like. So with these particular settings on the Calhoun, I'm going for a garage rock kind of sound. The Twin 12 is loosely based on the circuitry of an old Silvertone amp, so if you guys know anybody who uses that amp, you kind of get what I'm going after. The magic with these settings, though, is using both effects at the same time, with the fuzz running into the overdrive. We'll check out both settings individually first, and then we'll combine the two. With these settings, this is how I like to run the Calhoun into my particular amplifier. Now, although I love my orange, the one thing that I can say is that it's fairly dark. So what I like to do with the Twin 12 side of the Calhoun is use it essentially as a preamp, adding a little bit of grit and using the EQ to really tailor that sound so I get a little bit more jangle and sparkle and shave off some of the excessive lows. I also like this particular fuzz setting. Now what I do with that is I really like a lower gain fuzz because this Firefly side has a lot of gain to it. And I just love the sputtery nature of it. But I keep it kind of bright since, well, going into a dark amp, I want a little bit more emphasis on the high end. Now comparing that to what you start out with, you don't get as much jangle, you don't get as much gloss on the high end, and sometimes, depending on the pickups and depending on how loud you are, you get an excess buildup of lows. So I really like that particular sound on the Twin 12. Now when it comes to the fuzz, I just love putting it on and just going for it and having a really good time playing with a good fuzz sound. And although I do like that fuzz for some single note playing, I do find that this sound works equally as well for some big old chords. let's go ahead and check out what the order switch can do on the Calhoun. It does exactly what it says, swaps the order of the effects. So the previous tones that we've been listening to have the fuzz running into the overdrive, but it's really cool to run the overdrive into the fuzz. It opens up a whole new world of tone shaping possibilities. So here's the setting that I have on the fuzz side of the Calhoun. Big, dark. Might not work for what we need. Well, let's go ahead and click on the overdrive side and use the gain to add just a little bit more going into the fuzz, but use the EQ to shape the tone. And that, my friends, is the Calhoun V2 from JHS Pedals and Mike Campbell. Now, is this necessarily Mike Campbell's tone in a box? No, not really. Like I said, I feel like Mike is the sum of all parts, and the most important part being him and his fingers. But what you do have in this pedal is two very cool tools to shape your tone or get tones similar to Mike's. I think they're very well tuned. I think they're very fun to play, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how they fit into my music very soon. And I want to know what you guys thought. Leave me a comment below with your thoughts, and when you see it, click the subscribe button so you don't miss the next episode of Stompbox Saturday. And until then, my friends, I'm Sean Pierce Johnson, and I wish you all great tone and happy stomping. Cheers.